Hey everyone, well I finally got the transmission lifted up in the my Explorer. I wanted to give you guys some advice. Let me see if I can get up under here real quick. And I installed it last night. I actually kind of got it hooked up last night, and I had a really hard time getting the top of the bell housing to go up on the engine block. So what I had to do was, I'm using a transmission jack, of course. I had to get that transmission exactly just the way the motor was set at an angle, and once I did that, I put the bolts on the torque converter, if you can see there. I kind of aligned those up and everything, and played with it for probably 45 minutes before I got this thing lined up where it actually finally bolted together. And when it did, the transmission sort of went forward about a ½ inch. And once I got one of these bolts started, well, basically when I saw one of those nuts, the studs, pushing through that flywheel, I put a nut on it so it wouldn't go back out. Then I started my bolts and my flywheel and all that good stuff. Now, how I'm turning the flywheel is I've got a 19 socket up on the front of the crankshaft, which is right there, and this is how I'm turning it. And it's an odd size for some reason. I'm not sure why it's 19. Let me check. That's 19. And that's how I did that. I kind of turned that a little bit, and I put the nuts on there each time. Now I'm going to kind of back up under here a little bit. I'm holding the camera free-handed, so I know it's a little shaky. There's not a lot of room under here. Sorry about that. There's the back of the focus. Damn it. Okay. There's the back of the transmission. My transfer case is not hooked up right now, so I have very easy access to all my bolts up on my bell housing there. I just basically used extensions to tighten those up, and those were not a problem at all. They actually went on pretty fast. And I'm using a one of these guys, so once I got the bolts in there, putting them in wasn't too bad. Now, on this side, of course, I got my transmission lines unhooked, and that little plate up there, I just pulled it off to the side. It's kind of bolted there. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a little plate up there that these fuel lines run on. I just pushed that off to the side. And once I got that done, I just basically tightened up the rest of the bell housing bolts, and the transmission is in at this point. So if you're going to put a transmission in one of these, that's the biggest issue you'll have, is getting those bolts, the bell housing, lined up with the torque converter into the flywheel. So thought I'd just kind of pass that along. I don't have too much more to do now. I'll just go ahead and finish this up today and put transmission fluid in. Like I said, I rebuilt the thing, put new clutches in it and all that good stuff. And the only other thing I can think of is, if you're going to do this, you probably will need a transmission jack. I've been using one because there's no way I could lift that transmission up under there. Now, if you have some buddies that have some pretty strong arms, maybe you guys can do it, but just for safety reasons, I invested in a transmission jack years ago, and I've done a few of these transmissions. Everything else on the transmission is pretty well easy accessible when it's hanging down like this. And like I said, you just got to kind of watch the top of the motor and everything, make sure nothing up there is against the firewall too close. You don't want to break anything, but other than that, I don't have anything to worry about. Everything seems to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start hooking the some wires up here and hook the it's one of those days, the transfer case on the back of this, and go ahead and set it up and bolt everything up and start it up after a while and put some fluid in it. So if you're going to do that, that's my advice. You're going to have to wrestle around with those bell housing bolts and the torque converter bolts, getting them lined up in that flywheel. There's only 4 of them, but I'll tell you what, it takes some patience to do it. It took me, like I said, almost an hour last night just to get that lined up, and I'm using a transmission jack. So, there you go. So, good luck, guys, and like I said, if you have any questions, maybe I'll try to answer them. No expert, but I did get the job done anyway. So, thanks for watching, and good luck.